Hey, this is Tiqqle, and in this video we're going to talk about Doom Winds and the single target and AoE target rotations that you should be using when you're popping Doom Winds. This will help you maximize your damage, as there's a few things that you might not know about proccing Wind Fury. So we'll go over what abilities proc Wind Fury for single target, what that rotation looks like. We're going to go into AoE after that, and then I'm going to show you the Google Doc, of course. There's a Google Doc that I enriched that has this information in there for you. And then we're also going to look at the logs so that you can see what are the top enhancement shamans doing in their rotation. I know there's many people that are reaching out saying, how do I improve my damage? How do I improve my rotation? And this is how I do it and how I recommend that you do it, is looking at the best and following in their footsteps. Now, I'm also going to show you how I'm able to come to this conclusion, as well as what simulation craft, what all the rotation websites are, when you run your sims through raid bots, what rotation they're saying that you should use and how that aligns to this. Why? Because we kind of helped confirm that was the case and submitted those changes. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. So let's go ahead and show you what it looks like. Number one, what we're going to do is we're going to use Ascendance. Ascendance is the go-to for mythics and for the raid right now. You can see that on Warcraft Logs, and we'll look at those logs in a little bit. What I want to do, though, is I want to focus on the abilities that pop or that have a chance to proc Wind Fury, and with Doom Winds we'll have 100%. Those abilities are Storm Strike or Wind Strike, Sundering, Crash Lightning, which is particularly powerful in AoE, we'll get to that, and Ice Strike. I'm not going to talk about Ice Strike, but it does have the chance to proc Wind Fury, which means with Doom Winds, it has a 100% chance. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'll show you the opener that I would use and I see consistently in the logs, right? So we're going to go ahead, we'll run up, we'll use Flame Shock, we'll use Feral Wolves, and here's where you want to, might surprise you, want to pop Ascendance, use one Wind Strike, and then pop Doom Winds, and then use Wind Strike, Sunder, Crash, Wind Strike, and now I can spend Maelstrom, right? I can spend Maelstrom if I don't get any of those abilities, and then I can use Wind Strike, Crashes back, and then I start to resume that normal rotation and getting those spenders off. So that's it. And you can see my abilities I'm pressing here and over here, in case you want to rewind. But that's basically the single target rotation. What you'll see is that Wind Fury attack does so much damage. Now, Chain Harvest is hitting multiple mobs. Ignore that. I was just using that as a spender. But really what you want to look at, the Wind Strikes are popping off those Wind Furies. Those Crash Lightnings, even though that's lower damage, it's getting more Wind Furies. And also, the Sunder, even though it's not the biggest damage, does proc the Wind Fury. When you proc the Wind Fury, you get that increased damage. So that's what it's about. Now, that's it for single target. Again, 3-minute cooldown, so we're not going to wait for that. But that's the rotation. You want to be basically using those Wind Strikes, Storm Strikes. You want to get that Sundering off, and then you want to be using Crash. You want to use those three abilities. It's okay to cap Maelstrom in this stage. This is just maximizing that Wind Fury damage as much as you can. If you come into a situation that you do not have Storm Strike / Wind Strike, or Sundering, or Crash Lightning, then press Lightning Bolt. Spend some of that Maelstrom, because you're probably soon going to get a proc. It's a higher priority to spend that Maelstrom during the Doom Winds window, if you don't have those melee buttons, or those Wind Fury proccers, than to use Lava Lash or Frost Shock. Why? Because you're about to probably get a proc and probably get a lot more Maelstrom stacks pretty soon. So that's that. So that's single target. We'll get into, I'll show you how to review the logs to drill this out, pull this out of it as well. I'll show you how that process works, but that's the deal. Let's go ahead and jump into AoE. In AoE situation, number one, you will want to be Hailstorm. Hailstorm will help you cleave a lot. Now, if you're a Tyrannical weak, maybe you want Elemental Assault for more single target smoothness in Mythic Pluses, but in Raid, Sun King, you're going to be going Hailstorm because it's just a plethora of mobs. What does this look like? Well, number one, I want to remind you, when you use Chain Lightning, it reduces the cooldown on Crash Lightning. This is huge because Crash Lightning is the number one ability that you need to be pressing in your rotation for your AoE with Doom Winds. You can see Sunderings here, and yeah, I'll put this link down below. This is all the abilities that proc it as a reminder, and as well as a single target AoE target rotation. I also have the simulation crafting here. And again, a big shout out to Word Up for being cool about talking about this. Now, what we'll do here is we'll drop Doom Winds, we'll use Sunder, we'll use Crash, right? But I actually think, this relationship between Sundering and Crash is kind of interesting. I think that getting both of these on cooldowns is a big deal. So we'll leave it as is. So what we want to do is basically follow that rotation. I'm going to go in, ready? I'll probably pop probably about wolves. Flame Shock, even I'll walk up, I'll pass Doom Winds, I'm going to Sunder, I'm going to Crash, I'll use Storm Strike, and I'll use Chain Lightning, Frost Shock, now back to Crash. Now Chain Lightning, I'll Chain Lightning twice even to get it back, and then another Crash to Storm Strike to Frost. Then you start to get really smooth and doing a lot of damage. Now again, you might say to yourself, well, you know, what's doing damage? Wind Fury is. Wind Fury's hitting everything. It's a beautiful thing. We love to see that animation. So that's that. That's the rotation for AoE, and it's extremely satisfying. What I can also do there is I can spend Maelstrom, and I should have used on Chain Harvest a little bit earlier. That would have been a smarter thing to do than just maybe the double Chain Lightning is good. Like sometimes I'll Chain Lightning 2 times to get another Crash off during the Doom Winds window, because you only have 12 seconds. There's only so many globals you can fit in that window. Luckily with Bloodlust and, you know, Haste, you can get a little bit more out of it, but that's basically the rotation. So that's it for single target AoE. You're utilizing Doom Winds to the max. Now, again, this is a Google Doc. I'll put it down below. But this is basically the rotation. This is it. This is it. And Crash Lightning is so satisfying to press, especially because it procs on everything. So that's here. Now, what I also want to show you, maybe you might be like, well, how do I know that's right? Well, let me go ahead and show you. This is the Simulation Craft Action Priority List. This means when you run a SimC, when you run raid bots, when you look at Blood Mallet, when you look at hero damage, they're running simulations on an Enhanced Shaman using this rotation. Same thing goes for every class. There's modules for every class. And again, this link's down below. If you're interested in contributing, you should get involved. This is an open source thing. People can submit. I was in their Discord. I've been talking with certain people in the Tiqqle community, messaging word up a lot about this, being probably annoying because this wasn't even here until a week ago. This is single target action priority if you have Doom Winds. If you have Doom Winds, Storm Strike's #1. Crash Lightning #2. Sundering's down here. I personally think maybe this needs to be bumped up, but you know, again, it's up to people's opinions and the Theory Crafter Kings, right? So that's that. So this is again matching my rotation suggestion pretty much to the T, except for Sundering, which is more, I guess, a filler, but needs to be used during Doom Winds. That single target. AoE similarly is down here. You can see Crash Lightning #1 priority if you have Doom Winds up. Sundering's right there. Frost Shock if Hailstorm's up. You can see where I'm coming from. Now that's that, and this will help you guys out in case you want to see, well, what are the Sims doing? If it says 4.5k DPS, I'm only doing 3. How do I get better? Well, if you want to get into the meat, the details, here you go. So that's the simulation craft part. I just want to show you to help kind of validate a few things. You can see technically I put Sundering ahead of these things. I think that this rotation for AoE is probably going to be a little bit easier than to say to you, use Sundering when it fits in, make sure it goes on cooldown. But, you know, like I'm trying to make it a little bit easier, but I do think there's you can optimize this, of course. And you can also, you know, if you have max, like for example, this says to use Frost Shock if Hailstorm buffs up, maybe, you know, this isn't going to be starting on pull. You know, you're going to be Doom Windsing throughout the fight, so you have to be a little bit flexible here. Just want to make that note before I get yelled at. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you the Warcraft Logs. I went onto the Warcraft Logs. I went up and I said, hey, I want to show you guys, how do you look into this? How do I get better? How do I see how to utilize these abilities a little bit more effectively? Well, if you go into Castle Nathrion Warcraft Logs, links below, Mythic, Shriekwing, you can see our buddy Word Up right here. All right, that's not Word Up. You can see our buddy Word Up here. He killed Shriekmaw. He's a damn savage. Now let's go ahead and look. This is the opening sequence of the boss fight. Flame Shock. Use the wolves. Popping Ascendants and Trinkets. Then using Doom Winds. Then pressing your Wind Strike, Sunder, Wind Strike, Wind Strike, Wind Strike. He's getting lucky with the procs. Wind Strike. He uses Chain Harvest maybe to dump Maelstrom or to heal the group. Wind Strike. Crash to use the, you know, utilize the freaking Doom Winds. Wind Strike, and now we're actually out of the window right here. So he's using other abilities because they're filler. And now what I can do is I can actually look at this row. Whenever he's dropping Wind Fury, I can basically assume that's when he's popping Doom Winds. And again, we see it popped here. Wind Fury, Storm Strike, Storm Strike, as many times as you can, right? Crash, Storm Strike, right? And then using other abilities to reset, another more Storm Strikes. And again, you know, dumping that Maelstrom when you don't have Storm Strikes or you don't have those 3 abilities. Now, again, we can zoom over to the next one that he uses. Let's go, 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 go. Here you go. He uses another one. He pops Ascendance, Wind Fury, Wind Strike, Sunder, Wind Strike, Wind Strike, Wind Strike, Wind Strike, Wind Strike, Flame Shock, Wind Strike, Wind Strike. Now he's dumping, right? So that's what it's about, and using that crash as well. So that's, you know, you can see this kind of on repeat. And I've seen other logs too. And here it is again, right? I've seen other logs too where people are using Ascendance. Oh, you can see it here. Another one, crash, maybe because Storm Strike was on cooldown. Storm Strike, Sunder, making sure that they're being used. So definitely a way for you to interpret this and say, okay, well, Tiqqle, you actually said use Ascendance and a Wind Strike before Doom Winds. Well, I'm saying that because nine times out of 10, you're going to, when you use Sunder or you use Crash after you use a Wind Strike, that you're going to get a proc of a Wind Strike, especially in openers. So this actually just gets a cheeky extra one out, and then you still get Ascendance form during your entire rotation. So let's go ahead. And now what I'll do is, that was single target. Another shout out to Word Up. And then also for Sun King. Sun King, he's running a Hailstorm, because that's the Clevosaurus Rex build. You can go down here and you can see the rotation on pull using Wolves, using Doom Winds, then out using Crash, Sunder, Chain Harvest. Probably this is the biggest spike of damage you can possibly get. Then using Storm Strikes, because that's single target. Another Crash, Chain Lightning into another, Chain Lightning, this is Storm Strike, Chain Lightning to Crash. This is the rotation you want to be looking at. So again, we'll go over to the next Doom Winds, right? This is another Doom Winds popped with that. This is Ascendance, Wind Strike, Doom Winds, Wind Strike, Wind Strike, Wind Strike, Wind Strike, Wind Strike. You know, so this is probably a single target mob because you can see Lightning Bolt, Lava Lash, right, to fill in the rotation. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back. Let's go over here to the next one that's being used. Oh, wait. Okay, so another one here. Sunder, Storm Strike, Crash, Chain Harvest, etc. Right? So that's very, very strong. And then you can see, you know, using Chain Lightning to reset Storm Strike. Chain Lightning to Frost Shock to Storm Strike. I forgot Hailstorm, right? If we go back, I'm sure he did it back here as well. And I just maybe skipped over it. You can see, okay, Chain Lightning, Frost Shock, Cleave. So this is what you can do. These links are in the Google Doc. They'll be in the description. I wanted to show you how we come and how do we figure this stuff out, because I think it's important for you to understand how to use these things to your maximum benefit. Doom Winds is a huge legendary, and I want the Shaman community, I want Enhances, I want Ellies, I want all you guys to shine and become the best you can be, because you're going to make the community perspective better as we just work on everyone a little bit at a time. So with that being said, guys, that's it for the video. That's it for the Doom Winds kind of tips for single target AoE, what abilities proc it, and reviewing the logs, reviewing the sims, and this will be here in case you forget. So with that being said, guys, I want to thank you for tuning into this video. If you like this content, if you like what I'm putting out there, consider hitting that like button and that sub button. We will be here every day, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/TiqqleThis. And I really appreciate you guys, all the support and love. I really appreciate the Patreons, the subs, viewers. You guys are incredible. Have a great holiday, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.